Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the lecture of real analysis. In the last lecture, we have seen an important theorem named as Darboux theorem. This theorem is going to help us to derive the condition of integrability. Condition of integrability is essential because it is giving us the necessary and sufficient condition for the integrability of the given function. Let us have a look on the statement of Darboux theorem. Darboux theorem states that if f is a bounded function on closed interval ab, then for every epsilon greater than 0, there corresponds delta greater than 0 such that if upper sum is less than upper integral plus epsilon, that of lower sum is greater by lower integral minus epsilon, and this is true for the partitions of the closed interval ab whose norm is less than delta. If the condition we are imposing on the partition for which these two statements is going to hold is the norm value is less than delta. And what is delta? For every epsilon there corresponds one delta. Okay, I have already told you a relation between epsilon delta, how it is going to work out. I think we have taken this for the example of continuity of a function. I think convergence of a sequence also, right? Therefore, if we change the value of epsilon, then the corresponding value of delta is going to change. And if the delta value is going to change, then the selection of partition is going to change accordingly, because the selection of partition P is depend on the norm value where norm is less than delta. Therefore, if you are going to change delta, corresponding norm value is going to change and corresponding P is going to change. And this theorem is giving us the existence of such a partition where upper sum is less than upper integral plus epsilon, lower sum is greater than lower integral minus epsilon. Rather, it is giving the existence of a partition where the two inequalities is going to be true. Okay, this is what a simple meaning of a Darboux theorem, which we are using while proving the condition of integrability. To prove the condition of to prove this Darboux theorem, we have followed a nice process. Okay, I will not repeat the process because in last lecture we have repeated it. So let me come to the lecture, today's lecture directly. In this lecture, we are going to derive the condition of integrability. Condition of integrability. Okay, now for the condition of integrability, actually we are finding a necessary and sufficient condition. Here I will write condition of integrability means this is necessary and sufficient condition. Necessary and sufficient condition for integrability of the given function. For integrability of given function. Okay, now this condition of integrability we are going to state in two different forms. Okay, the difference between the two forms is not much. Okay, first we will try to understand what are the two different forms of condition of integrability, and then we will discuss the difference between the two. We will deal with first form of condition of integrability, and the first form of condition of integrability states that a necessary and sufficient condition, a necessary and sufficient condition for the integrability of a bounded function. No doubt the function should be bounded because we have already made the discussion that why boundedness is essential. Therefore, condition of integrability for a bounded function here is that to every epsilon greater than 0 there corresponds delta greater than 0 such that for every partition P of closed interval AB with norm mu of P less than delta, it gives us UPF minus LPF is less than epsilon. Therefore, what is the condition of integrability? Condition of integrability is UPF minus LPF is less than epsilon, and it is true for every epsilon greater than 0. There corresponds delta greater than 0. That is for every partition with norm P less than delta. This statement is very similar to the condition imposed on the Darboux theorem. No? On Darboux theorem also we have imposed the same condition. For every epsilon there exists delta, and the statement is true for all the partitions whose norm is less than delta. Therefore here also this statement is true for all the partitions whose norm is less than delta. Correct? Let us prove the statement. Okay. Now as it is necessary and a sufficient condition, means we have to prove the result in two different steps. In the first step, we will prove that the condition is necessary, and in the second step, we will prove the condition is sufficient. Okay. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between necessary and sufficient condition? Or should I assume that you are knowing the difference and I'll just continue? Yes? Anyone from student side? Is the voice clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Means you are not knowing the difference between condition, necessary and sufficient condition. Actually, you should know this difference between necessary and sufficient. Okay. If I want to give the simple example, say, if you want to take an admission to MSc 1 mathematics in university department, what is the essential condition? Essential condition is to give the entrance exam and come in the process. Okay, this is necessary. But whether the condition is sufficient, whether
No,
all the
ma'am.
students who have given the test, entrance test, whether they will get the admission, no. Therefore, this is only necessary condition. Okay, what is the sufficient one?
We
They
must
have to
have
come in merits.
Yes, you should be in the merit. Therefore, this coming, giving an entrance and coming in the merit is necessary and sufficient condition for taking an admission in MSc Mathematics. Right now. Similarly, in case of mathematics, if I want to give an example, suppose we have a group and we want to form a subgroup of a given group. So, what is the condition necessary? Whatever is the set under the consideration should be a non-empty subset of the given subgroup. Sorry, given group. Right now, then only we can check whether it is a subgroup or not. Correct. If it is a non-empty subset, then if it itself it is a group, then we can call this to be a subgroup. But this condition, being a non-empty subset of a given group, is not a sufficient condition. Okay. Likewise, one can discuss many examples. I'll just proceed. Okay. Now, in the first step, we are going to prove the condition is necessary. Condition is necessary means what to assume and what to prove. The assumption we will make is the function is integrable, and we will prove that this condition is true. UPF minus LPF is less than epsilon. Means we are going to prove this condition is necessary. The first part we will prove. Okay. It is just like if and only if statement. So what is my assumption initially? Assume that a bounded function, yeah, is integrable. Okay, this is the assumption. And what to prove? To prove the condition, that is UPF minus LPF is less than by epsilon. Less than by epsilon. Okay, let us prove. In order to prove the result, we will first make use of the condition that the function is integrable. What does mean? What is the meaning of the function is integrable?
Upper and lower integral must be equal.
Good. By definition of integrable function, upper integral, lower integral must be equal. Therefore, let me write. Lower integral of f is equal to upper integral of f, and what we are calling this as integration. Right now, this is the integration. Okay. and we will start with epsilon be a positive number. Epsilon be any positive number. Positive number means it is greater than 0. Now what the job we will do? We will try to find out, we will try to use the Darboux theorem. Okay, therefore I will write by Darboux theorem. By Darboux theorem. What Darboux theorem says? To this epsilon greater than 0, there exists delta greater than 0 such that for every partition P, with norm P less than delta. What is the statement of Darboux theorem? Upper sum is less than by upper integral plus epsilon. But here as this upper integral we have written equal to integration, therefore may I replace upper integral by integration? Okay, and let me call this as statement number 1. Same thing we will do for the second one. Lower sum is greater by lower integral minus epsilon, which is equal to integration f dx minus epsilon. Let me call this as statement number 2. Okay, now we have the two values with us, upper sum and lower sum. And what we want to prove? Upper sum minus lower sum is less than epsilon. How can I do this? How can I find upper sum minus lower sum? Can I take directly a subtraction of the two, equation number 1 and equation number 2? Is it feasible to take directly a subtraction? Because one inequality is having strictly less, another inequality is with strictly greater. Therefore, I cannot take an operation directly here. Therefore, what I have to do? I have to make the inequality symbols to be same. And to make the symbol same, what we will do? We will multiply equation, the statement number 2 by a negative symbol. What will happen if I multiply by negative? Inequality reverses.
Equality changes.
Strictly greater will become, right, strictly greater will become strictly less. Correct now? Then we can do the operations between the two inequalities. Therefore, I will write multiply 2 by minus 1, we get. What we get if I multiply by minus 1? This becomes minus LPF. This strictly greater becomes strictly less. I will write this term only. What is the effect on this term? Negative integration a to b f dx plus epsilon. Is that okay? Okay. Now what the job we have to do? Our aim is to find out UPF minus LPF. Therefore, may I add statement number 1 and 3 now? Adding 1 and 3. We get. What we get if I add 1 and 3? Left hand side will be UPF minus LPF. And again, both the inequalities are same. Therefore, which will be strictly less by. And what we have to add? We have to add this part with this one. Right? What is this part? This part is integration f dx. This is also integration f dx. We have to add both of them, and therefore they will cancel one another. Right now, let me write the statement. This becomes UPF minus LPF strictly less by the terms in the first integration. First inequality will be integration a to b f dx plus epsilon, that in the second it is minus integration a to b f dx plus epsilon. Now here these two terms are going to cancel one another, and what we remain with? Epsilon plus epsilon, which is 2 epsilon. But what we want to prove? UPF minus LPF is strictly less by epsilon. Correct now? So what should be the adjustment I have to do in order to make this addition as epsilon?
First to take
What should I write
epsilon by
here?
Epsilon by 2.
Good. Therefore, in equation number 2, I will write epsilon by 2. Here epsilon by 2. Here it is epsilon by 2. Correct? Then here also it will be epsilon by correspondingly epsilon by 2 and epsilon by 2, so that it will be in all giving us epsilon. Okay, I have not forgotten to adjust this epsilon, remember. Okay, purposefully I am showing why there is a necessary to make the adjustment in this epsilon value. So for this epsilon by 2 we have written just in order to prove the required result of UPF minus LPF is less than epsilon. Therefore, we have started with an assumption that the function is integrable, and we have proved that UPF minus LPF is less than epsilon, and this is for every partition. This is for every partition P of closed interval AB with norm P less than delta. That is, this is the necessary condition of integrability only when the underlined partition satisfies the condition norm P is less than delta. Okay, therefore this completes with the proof of necessary point of view. Condition is necessary, we have proved. Now let us go for step number 2, proving the condition is sufficient as well. Okay, I will write the condition is sufficient. Therefore, what is the assumption now? Yes, what will be the assumption? What should I prove?
UPF minus LPF is less than epsilon given, and we
Right.
have to prove that lower and upper integral are equal.
That is function is integrable. Correct, na? Let me write. Let us assume. Okay, I have to assume the statement UPF minus LPF less than epsilon. For that, I have to write for every epsilon there exists delta, etc. Therefore, I will write for any epsilon greater than 0 for any partition P, for any partition P with norm P less than delta, where this delta is depending on, yes, this delta depending on what? Delta depends on epsilon, correct na? As you are going to change your epsilon value, the corresponding delta is going to change. Therefore, this delta is depending on epsilon. What is given to us? UPF. For what we are going to assume? UPF minus LPF is less than by epsilon. Okay. And the aim to prove is the function here is integrable. How to prove this to be integrable? Our aim is to prove lower integral is equal to upper integral. Lower integral is equal to upper integral. Let us do this. Okay. Now what we will do? We will make use of the inequality we have written in previous lectures. What is the inequality? I will just write for any partition P. We have, see, I don't know whether you are remembering this inequality. Lower sum is less equal by lower integral. Lower integral is less equal by upper integral, and which is less equal by upper sum. Upper sum. Correct na? This is the inequality we have proved in between some of the lectures. Lower sum less equal by lower integral. Why? Because this lower integral is supremum of lower sums. Correct na? Lower integral is less equal by upper integral, already we have proved. And this upper integral is infimum of upper sums. Therefore, arbitrary upper sum is greater than by upper integral. Arbitrary lower sum is less equal by lower integral. Right? Now, in order to prove that the function is integral, our aim is to prove these two values are equal. Now, in order to do this, what we will do, we will try to divide the inequality into two parts. Okay, how should I divide this? We will divide like this. From here, I am going to divide. Let me write the two separate inequalities. Lower sum is less equal by lower integral, and upper integral is less equal by upper sum. Let me call this as statement number 4. This be statement number 5. One thing is in our hand. UPF minus LPF is less than epsilon. Therefore, from these two inequalities, again we will try to construct a term UPF minus LPF, where we know that this is less than by epsilon. Therefore, it may help us to prove the required result. Therefore, to construct UPF minus LPF, what I will do, I will make an addition first. I will make a addition, adding 4 and 5. What will happen if I add 4 and 5? It becomes lower sum plus upper integral less than or equals to lower integral plus upper sum. Okay. Now to construct a term UPF minus LPF, I will shift this LPF to the right and I will shift this integral to the left. Okay. So that it will be upper integral minus lower integral is less than or equals to upper sum minus lower sum, right? But this term we know already this is less than by epsilon, right? Reason assumption, or you can give the statement number also. Okay, therefore what we have obtained, upper integral minus lower integral is less than by epsilon. Correct now? Is less than by epsilon. What is epsilon? Epsilon is arbitrary positive number. What is the value or what is this value? Upper integral minus lower integral. According to this inequality, if I take upper integral minus lower integral, is the quantity non-negative? Greater or equal by 0, na?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
quantity non-negative, right? Therefore, here look at the statement. We got this to be a non-negative number, and what is this epsilon? Is a arbitrary positive number. Correct now? Is the arbitrary positive number. Then what is the possibility of the left hand side? We want an arbitrary non-negative number less than by every positive. What is the possibility
0.
of this? Yes, it is 0 exactly. Right? See here. This is 0 and these are my non-negative terms. Okay. Now what we want? This non-negative number less than by every positive. What is the positive number after 0? We cannot guess. Therefore, epsilon may take any smaller number which is nearer to 0. Therefore, if I want a non-negative number which is strictly less than by 0, therefore the only possibility is to get the value as 0. Therefore, what we have proved, okay, what I will write, since epsilon is an arbitrary positive number, therefore we see that a non-negative number is less than every positive number, hence it must be equal to 0. Therefore, what is this value of left hand side we have obtained? This is a non-negative number less than by every positive. Therefore, the value must be 0. Therefore, upper integral f dx minus lower integral f dx is equal to 0. Proving upper integral is equal to lower integral. Okay, and whenever we write both the integrals are equal, hence f is integrable. Hence f is integrable. Okay, is the concept understood to everyone? We have proved both the parts from necessary point of view and from sufficient point of view. In necessary point of view, we have assumed that the function is integrable and we have proved the condition is true. That is, the condition is necessary. Okay. And while proving this, no doubt we have made use of the Darboux theorem. Means clearly the statement of condition of integrability is true for only those partitions having nor less than delta. Having nor less than delta. In the second part, we have assumed the condition of integrability and we have proved that the function is integrable. Okay, this is what the proof of first form of condition of integrability. And here we are going to write a note stating another form of the condition of integrability. Right now, I think all of you are familiar whenever we are writing mod of Sn minus L less than epsilon for every epsilon greater than 0, one can write this statement equally as limit n tends to infinity Sn is equal to L. Right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Then that is, this modulus form can be written in the limit form as well. Okay. Now here also we have this to be UPF minus LPF less than epsilon. No need to write a modulus because UPF minus LPF is always a non-negative quantity. Now this form which we have written less than epsilon, now we are trying to write in the limiting form. Okay. Then how can I write this in the limiting form? Limit UPF minus LPF is equal to 0. And what is the limit? Limit mu p tends to 0. What is mu p? Mu p is the norm of the function. Norm value is tending to 0 equally means that n is tending to infinity. What is n? N are the number of points in the given partition. Norm value of the given partition is tending towards 0. Okay, therefore these two are same. Though you write n tends to infinity or norm p tends to 0. Okay, therefore here I can write a necessary and sufficient condition for integrability of a bounded function f is. Is that okay? This is actually a replacement we are writing. UPF minus LPF less than epsilon. To every epsilon, there exists delta greater than 0. Here also the condition will be same. Okay? Is that fine? Is there any doubt with the two different forms of condition of integrability? This condition must be written or is equally written with this form. Is that okay? Shall I go for the next statement?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we will go for second form of condition of integrability. I will write the statement of second form and then we will try to understand what is the difference. The statement says that a bounded function f is integrable on closed interval AB if and only if for every epsilon greater than 0 there corresponds there exists a partition. There exists a partition P. There exists a partition P or closed interval AB such that, what such that? UPF minus LPF is less than by epsilon. Okay, therefore this is the second form of condition of integrability. If you look at, this is very similar to the first form of condition of integrability, only the existence of delta was removed. Also, the condition defined on this partition, that whose norm value is less than delta, is also removed. Let us have a look on the first statement. First statement is necessary and sufficient condition for the integrability of a bounded function is that for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists delta for every partition whose norm is less than delta. This condition was removed. Now, in the second form, we are writing for every epsilon, there exists a partition with this condition. For delta and the condition on the partition norm P less than delta, both are removed, and it states with the same form of condition of integrability. Therefore, let us prove this. Okay, again we will prove this in 2 steps. Condition is necessary, condition is sufficient. Can anyone tell me what should I assume? Yes.
Function f is integrable.
Yes. Suppose a function f is integrable. Okay. And if it is integrable, we know lower integral is equal to upper integral is equal to actual integration. Correct. To prove that UPF minus ELPF is less than epsilon. No restriction on this P now. Okay. Let us prove. Now we will start with again let epsilon be positive number. Okay. Now we know since this upper integral and lower integral are, yes, upper integral is infimum of upper sums, lower integral is supremum of
lower sums.
Okay, therefore again let me use Darbox theorem to state there exist two partitions, say different partitions we will take P1 and P2 where Darbox theorem is true. Therefore let us write the Darbox theorem. I write since the upper and lower integral are infimum and supremum respectively of upper sum and lower sum. Upper sum and lower sum. Therefore, there exist partitions. We are using Darbox theorem. There exists partition P1, P2 such that by Darbox theorem, okay, by Darbox theorem. What Darbox theorem says? Upper sum is less than upper integral plus epsilon, lower sum is greater than lower integral plus minus epsilon. Therefore, we will write upper sum with respect to partition P1. Therefore, I let UP1F is less than by upper integral. For the sake of adjustment, we will write epsilon by 2. And we know this is equal to, this upper integral is equal to exact integration. This is plus epsilon by 2. Let me call it as statement number 1. Second, with respect to lower sum, I will use the second partition used LP2F greater by lower integral minus epsilon by 2. Now the idea is clear to us why we are writing epsilon by 2. Let me call this as statement number 2. What P1, P2 are? P1, P2 are the partitions whose norms are less than by delta, where delta is the value depending on epsilon. Now, what we will do, we will take a common refinement of these two partitions. Let P be common refinement of P1 and P2. P1 and P2. That is, P is equals to P1 union P2. Okay. And if we take the common refinement, we know by the theorem upper sum decreases, lower sum increases. Therefore, may I write UPF? Can anyone tell me? This is UP1F. Upper sum decreases. And similarly, I will write L2P2F is greater or equal by L2P2F. Lower sum increases. P is the refinement we are using of P1 and P2. Therefore, we will put both these values in the above statements, right? Therefore, here I will write UP1F. Okay, UP1F is greater or equal by UPF. Similarly, LP2F is less equal by LP1. Okay, therefore I will write from inequality 1. Therefore, may I write UPF is less than or equals to UP1F. UP1F is less than by integration plus epsilon by 2. Let me call this to be, or shall I write UPF is now less than by UPF is less than by UP1F. UP1F is less than by this. Therefore, one can say UPF is less than by this integration plus epsilon by 2. Let me call this as statement number 3. Similarly, from inequality 2, what we will obtain? We will obtain LP2F, right? LP2F is greater by LP2F is greater by integration minus epsilon by 2. Therefore, may I have the value of this integration as, may I have the value of integration as, this integration is less by, let me shift this to the left one. Therefore, this will become LP2F plus epsilon by 2. Right? Now, we will put this value in statement number 3. Put this value in 3. What will happen if I put this value 3? This UPF will become strictly less by LP2F plus epsilon by 2 added with one more epsilon by 2. So we obtain UPF strictly less by LP2F plus epsilon by 2 plus epsilon by 2, which gives us LP2F plus epsilon. But we know LP2F is always less equal by LPF. Therefore, let me replace this by LPF plus epsilon. Therefore, what we have proved? UPF is strictly less than by LPF plus epsilon. Therefore, UPF minus LPF is less than by epsilon, and hence it is the proof of the given statement. Okay, see, let us repeat what we have done. Okay. To use the Darboux theorem, we have norm P1 less than delta. Similarly, norm P2 is also less than delta. Then we have written the Darboux statement for upper sum for partition P1, lower sum for partition P2. We have given these as equation number 1 and 2. Later, we have taken the common refinement of P1 and P2. Once we take the common refinement of P1 and P2, means we are not bothering about the condition. Norm P1 is less than delta or not. Also, we know the fact as P is the common refinement, we know upper sum decreases, lower sum increases. Therefore, we have written the statement. Therefore, putting this value in statement 1, we obtain UPF less than by UP1F less than by integration plus epsilon by 2, which in turn gives us UPF less than by integration plus epsilon by 2. Similarly, from 2 we will obtain LP2F greater than by integration minus epsilon by 2. Now we are putting this value, we are finding the value of this integration from this statement. For integration we get less than by LP2F plus epsilon. Let us put this integration value here, which gives us UPF less than by LP2F plus epsilon by 2 added with one more epsilon by 2, which in turn gives us epsilon. Hence, LP2F plus epsilon. But LP2F is less than by LPF. Therefore, UPF is less than by LPF plus epsilon, proving the condition of integrability, right? As a necessary point of view. Therefore, now we will go for condition is sufficient. Now, in this condition is sufficient, we are going to repeat the proof of previous theorem. repeat the proof of previous theorem, because nowhere in the proof of second part we have used the condition norm p is less than delta. Okay, see here, whether we have assumed this condition, then for any partition we have written this, and therefore for the second part we have to repeat the proof of the above statement as it is. Therefore this is the exercise, today's exercise. Repeat the proof of the previous theorem. Okay, now the difference between the two statements is, in the first form of condition of integrability, the condition on the partition is norm p is less than delta. That of from the second form the condition was removed. Therefore, whenever we make the comparison between the two different forms of the condition of integrability, it suggests that from necessary point of view, the first form is stronger than the second. From necessary point of view, first form is stronger. That of from sufficient point of view, second form is stronger than first. Why? Because whenever I have to prove the function is integrable, I don't want the conditions on the partitions. No. Therefore, from sufficient point of view, second form will be stronger. That of from necessary point of view, first form will be stronger than the second. Okay, is there any doubt on this condition of integrability and the proof of this?
No, ma'am.
Okay, there are few deductions which are given on the in condition of integrability. Okay, therefore we will take the deductions in the next lecture, and then after taking the deductions we will go for the integrability of operations of the function, that is sum of two integrable functions, difference, product, quotient, etc., absolute function, etc. We will try to understand these theorems, condition of integrability for sum, difference, product, quotient of the two integrable functions. Okay, therefore we will stop for today. We will take the deductions and the operations on integrable functions in the next lecture. Okay, thank you for being with me for today's lecture. If you have a doubt, you can ask me so that I can give the explanation. Thank you for watching the lecture.